In Peru, social movements rallied outside Congress to demand early elections as well as the release of former President Pedro Castillo. In Europe, 4 of the 6 people arrested in the European Parliament corruption and money laundering scandal have been charged by the courts. And in Palestine, Israeli occupation forces raised Palestinian agricultural land this Sunday as part of the implementation of the illegal settlement policy. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. Peruvian social movements rallied outside Congress to demand new elections as well as the release of former President Pedro Castillo. A new day of demonstrations took place in several locations around the country, including blockades and marches where citizens demanded new general elections, the closing of Congress, and the resignation of President Dina Boluarte. Likewise, the population of Arequipa declared an indefinite strike against the national legislature. At the same time, the Adehuelas confrontations between demonstrators and police resumed using slingshots and stones, while police forces responded with tear gas against the participants. Meanwhile, protesters took over the Andahuaylas airport in response to the Congress actions, demanded the resignation of President Dina Boluarte, and called for early elections. After the protests, fires were registered in the midst of confrontations between protesters and security forces. Likewise, the Peruvian Corporation of Commercial Airports and Aviation announced the closure of the city's airport due to the clashes. In this sense, the Apurimac regional government suspended classes as a preventive measure and announced a yellow alert to the health sector to guarantee uninterrupted medical attention. In the meantime, Peru's Congress holds an extraordinary plenary session to inform the chamber of the proceedings filed by the national prosecutor Patricia Benavides against Pedro Castillo and 2 former ministers. The only item on the agenda is the official letter sent to Parliament by the nation's public prosecutor informing this branch of government of the proceedings that her office is carrying out against Castillo. The former head of the Council of Ministers, Betsy Chavez, and the former Minister of the Interior, Willy Huerta, according to the public prosecutor's office, the purpose of the official document is to guarantee the fundamental rights and the purpose of the criminal process. In Bolivia, international energy sales increased to more than $3 billion as a result of gas sales to Argentina and Brazil. Bolivian President Luis Arce highlighted that the state-owned company Bolivian Fiscal Oil Fields invoiced 49% more than in 2021. The president emphasized that the additional resources represented more investment in social policies implemented to benefit the people. According to the Bolivian state-owned company, these resources contributed to oil revenues in favor of governments, municipalities, the public university system, health coverage projects, education, housing, employment, among others. In Mexico, at least 8 people were killed after a new massacre in the Guerrero department. According to local media, the incident took place in the community of El Durazno, located in the municipality of Coyuca de Catalan, when armed men began shooting at a group of people. According to witnesses, members of the criminal gang La Nueva Familia Michoacana took the victims out of their homes and brought them to a school field in the community where they were shot. Among the deceased was a minor. Local authorities said the victims have not yet been identified and that police have cordoned off the area while they investigate the scene to find those responsible. After a magnitude 6 earthquake in Mexico, a representative of the government chamber reported that so far no damage has been reported. The epicenter of the earthquake was registered in the city of Tepac, a city in the state of Guerrero, slightly while in the port of Acapulco, and on the coast it was felt even more intensely. The National Seismological Service reported that the quake was located 17 kilometers south of Tepan, Guerrero, in the central cities of the country. A seismic alert was issued to prevent incidents. For the moment, no mishaps have been reported in any of the cities, as reported by several government directors. Guatemala's Volcán de Fuego, located between the departments of Esquintla and Chimaltenango and Zacatapeques in the south of the country, recorded an increase in its activity. The National Coordinating Agency for Disaster Reduction registered new volcanic activity that include plumes of smokes and lava flows up to 300 meters long. The ash from the nearly 4,000-meter high volcano, located 35 kilometers southwest of Guatemala City, scattered towards the departments of Zacatepeques, Esquintla, Guatemala City, and 5 other cities. The Guatemalan Red Cross reported that they maintain constant surveillance on the volcano. In Chile, authorities raised the green alert to yellow following Volcano Lascar's eruptive pulse in the Antofagasta region. The regional director of the National Emergency Office of the Ministry of the Interior, Ricardo Munizaga, explained that the yellow alert was extended in San Pedro de Atacama, a municipality located in the province of El Loa, in order to create a security perimeter and prevent people from entering the volcano area. The perimeter will be maintained for 5 days, and depending on the conditions, it may be extended or not. The regional official assured that they will provide updates frequently. Let us take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at TeleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The European justice system charged 4 of the 6 people arrested in the corruption and money laundering scandal in the European Parliament. Belgium's Federal Prosecutor's Office reported on Sunday that the judge who took over the corruption case linked to Qatar's actions to influence economic and political decisions in the European Union charged 4 of those arrested with the crimes of involvement in a criminal organization, money laundering, and corruption. The other 2 detainees were released. However, the agency did not share the names of any of those involved. Local media confirmed that the authorities searched the home of the Belgian Social Democrat European Deputy, Mark Tarabella. In the same context, the President of the European Parliament, Roberta Metsola, suspended the Vice President, Eva Kaili, who was arrested on Friday in the framework of the case of corruption and money laundering in the European Parliament. The ongoing police investigation links the former parliamentary vice president to the payment of millions of dollars allegedly from Qatar. In this regard, the prosecutor's office confirmed that during the searches of the deputies' homes, computer equipment, cell phones, and some 600,000 euros in cash were seized. The investigation adds pressure to the European Parliament and authorities from where, for example, sanctions and blockades to independent nations are imposed. Emergency teams continued to work on Sunday at the site of an explosion and fire in an apartment building on the Channel Island of Jersey that killed at least 3 people and left several missing. Robin Smith, chief officer of the States of Jersey Police, said the operation was now one of recovery rather than search and rescue. Smith added that the fire caused by the accident was brought under control. Firefighters were called on the scene moments prior to the explosion as neighbors smelled gas. Police authorities investigated whether or not there was a safety issue with natural gas lines. Authorities advised Jersey residents to only seek emergency hospital care in the event of an actual medical emergency and to avoid the area of the blast, which was cordoned off. The European Council reached an agreement on a legislative package which will enable the bloc to help Ukraine financially throughout 2023. The amount to be lent will be 18 billion euros and the loans will have a 10-year grace period. The proposal was adopted by the Council via written procedure and it will be submitted to the European Parliament for its possible adoption next week. Member states will cover the bulk of the interest costs via external assigned revenues. The guarantees for that borrowing will be provided either by the EU budget or by member states. The aim of the package is to provide short-term financial relief, financing Ukraine's immediate needs, rehabilitation of critical infrastructure, and initial support towards sustainable reconstruction. French authorities launched a joint ministerial group to take charge of strategic metals and mining supply in the country. According to the decree, Prime Minister Elisabeth Borne will be in charge of this cabinet. The group's goal will be to follow up the implementation of supply policies and to reinforce actions in the areas of defense, industry, energy, ecological transition, trade, and foreign relations. France, like other European countries, does not produce or possess most of the minerals and metals needed for economic and security matters. The creation of this delegation came in the context of a complex geopolitical scenario defined by conflicts and trade confrontation between major powers. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez promised that a new aid package to stop food prices from rising will be approved by the end of the year. Sánchez told a press conference that the third package of measures to mitigate the impact of the crisis derived from the conflict in Ukraine will be very ambitious, with new proposals and the extension of others already in force. The Prime Minister stressed that the government is currently analyzing how to better contain food prices, which are directly fueling inflation. According to official data, inflation in Spain has fallen by around 4 points in the last 4 months to 6.8% in November, mainly due to a slight reduction in fuel and energy prices. On the other hand, food continues to rise, and in October it stood at 15.4%, the highest level recorded in the country since 1994. Two rescuers' boats arrived in ports in southern Italy on Sunday, carrying more than 500 people who had been rescued from the Mediterranean Sea. The German-flagged Humanity One, operated by the SOS Humanity and non-governmental organization, arrived at the port of Bari, while the GO Barents, belonging to Doctors Without Borders, landed in the port of Salerno, just south of Naples. The latter was carrying 248 people, of which 84 were children, mostly unaccompanied. Several people had to be airlifted before reaching land, including a woman who gave birth on the boat on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Humanity One arrived in Bari with 261 people. A Tokyo private company aimed for the moon with its own private lander Sunday, blasting off atop a SpaceX rocket with the United Arab Emirates' first lunar rover. It will take nearly 5 months for the lander and its experiments to reach the moon. The company iSpace designed its craft to use minimal fuel to save money and leave more room for cargo. By contrast, NASA's Orion crew capsule with test dummies took 5 days to reach the moon last month. The iSpace lander will aim for Atlas crater in the northeastern section of the moon's near side, more than 87 kilometers across and just over 2 kilometers deep. With a science satellite already around Mars, the UAE joins in lunar exploration. Its rover, named Rashid after Dubai's royal family, will operate on the surface for about 10 days like everything else on the mission. More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. South. The deputy chairman of the Security Council of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, announced on Sunday that the country was ramping up production of new generation weapons. Medvedev said that Moscow is increasing production of the most powerful weapons, including those based on new principles, to protect itself from enemies in Europe, the United States and Australia. The deputy chairman also added that his country's enemies were not only in Ukraine, but in Europe, North America and a number of other places that pledge allegiance to the contemporary Nazis. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan told his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin on Sunday that Ankara and Moscow can start working on the export of different food products and gradually other commodities through the Black Sea grain corridor. In a phone call with President Putin, the Turkish head of state said over 13 million tons of grain have reached those in need through joint efforts so far on the Black Sea grain export deal. President Erdogan also expressed his sincere wishes to his Russian counterpart for an end to the conflict between Russia and Ukraine as soon as possible. Turkey has performed a mediator role between Moscow and Kiev, which led to the resumption of the July 22 grain deal. This Sunday, Israeli occupation forces raided Palestinian agricultural lands in northern Jordan Valley and southern Hebron in the occupied West Bank as part of the implementation of the illegal settlement policy. Local media reported that in the town of Al-Samu, settlers raised more Palestinians' land under the protection of Israeli occupation forces who assaulted Palestinian citizens defending their homes. Israeli military also stormed areas southeast of Tubas, where they prevented Palestinians from completing construction work on residential buildings, cattle pens, and a vital agricultural road for the area. China's President Xi Jinping said he would work to make energy purchases in yuan instead of US dollars. The Chinese head of state stressed the need for the initiative as he spoke to Persian Gulf Arab leaders during a meeting hosted by Saudi Arabia earlier this week. President Xi held separate talks with at least 30 regional leaders to highlight how Beijing increased purchases of US crude oil while maintaining high imports of Russian oil before the December 5th European embargo and the imposition of an oil price cap. In South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa's party meets next week to decide who will lead the country if the increasingly contested African National Congress wins the 2024 general election. Ramaphosa is the only candidate ahead of his former health minister Zweli Mkhize for president of the ANC. Parliament will decide on Tuesday whether to launch impeachment proceedings against President Ramaphosa, who is accused of trying to conceal a burglary at one of his properties. The ANC, which has a large majority in Parliament, has given him official support, making a forced departure unlikely. President Ramaphosa held important rallies in Cape Town to gather voters. Said province is traditionally favored by the first opposition party, the Democratic Alliance, which won more than 50% of the votes in the last local elections. Our correspondent in Qatar, Carlos Montero, earlier sent us information on the ground when there is just 1 week left until the end of the FIFA World Cup 2022.
Thank you very much. We are only 1 week away from the World Cup. Next Sunday is going to be the big finals. Today was a day to relax, a day to walk around this beautiful city on Doha, and we are right now in this known as a smart city. It's Mosharif. Technology is used to build those different buildings. You can retract the roof displays. Even it's not necessary today because today we have 20 degrees, but in summer times when the temperature is over 40 Celsius, all this area has air conditioners, and in front we have an important commercial center with a huge screen with information during this World Cup about the beautiful sport of football. But to finish, let's talk about football. Like I said, there are only 14 left. There are 4 matches they have to play. Tuesday is going to play Argentina against Croatia, and Wednesday is going to play France against Morocco. The winners are going to play on Sunday for the final. The losers are going to play on Saturday for the 3rd and 4th position. Let me tell you something before going back to the studio about Ronaldo. We saw him yesterday. It was heartbroken to see him leaving the stadium, the field, crying. He's a legend in the sport. He scored goal in the last 5 World Cups, something unique. So I mean, he deserves respect. And today he talked on social media, on Instagram, his Instagram account. He said, our team, Portugal, we did our best. There were not frictions among us like the media wants to make you believe. Don't believe what media is saying. He was upset with us, with the media, and what can I do? But I have to tell you something. Ronaldo wasn't starter the last 2 matches on Portugal, and Figo, one of the legends of Portugal, he said, our team, Portugal, cannot win a World Cup with Ronaldo on the bench. And that's what happened with Ronaldo in the 2 matches. Okay, this is all for right now. Let me go back with you to the studios.
And as the hearts of millions of fans lift the emotions of the Qatar 2022 World Cup, TeleSUR joins this sporting event with From the Field, a show that brings news, analysis, reviews, and more to our audience. Don't miss it. Our show airs at 1 p.m. local time in Caracas and 12 p.m. New York. Remember, From the Field, only on TeleSUR. We have come to the end of this news briefing. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. Also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.